Now let us discuss the chapter Introduction to Graphs. Have you ever seen the graphs in newspaper, textbook, magazine somewhere? So what is the purpose of the graphs? So the purpose of the graphs is to show the numerical facts in the visual form so that we can understand easily, quickly and clearly. So actually the graphs are the visual representations of the numerical facts, but the data can be represented in the form of a table. But however, the graphs means the graphical representation of any data we can understand easily. And even if you want to compare a trend or any comparison, if you want to make any comparison, so the graphs are very helpful to us so that we can understand easily. There are different types of graphs, means there are different types of graphical representation. So the first one we can take that bar graph, or sometimes we draw the double bar graph. And we can take circle graph, or this is also known as pie graph. And next one, histogram. Next one is line graph. And the last one is linear graph. So there are the different types of graphs. Bar graph, circle graph are also known as pie graph, histogram, line graph and linear graph. Now let us revise all these types of graphs. So the first one, bar graph. So what is a bar graph? So a bar graph shows the comparison among the different categories, and a bar graph consists of two or more vertical or horizontal rectangles. So if you take the example, in this example, on the horizontal line the term exams are taken, and on the vertical line the marks in mathematics of a student are taken. So in the first term he has got 30 marks in the mathematics. So representing the first term maths marks, so there is a one rectangle, vertical rectangle, and in the second term he got 40 marks. So to represent the 40 marks in the second term exam in mathematics, so there is another rectangle to show 40 marks. And in the third term exam he got 50 marks. So to show the 50 marks in third term examination in mathematics, so there is another rectangle. So here these three are the vertical rectangles to show the first term, second term, third term examinations. Now we can compare whether the marks of the student are increasing or decreasing. We can easily say that the marks of the student in mathematics are increasing. So when you compare from first term to second term or second term to third term. Now if you want to show the comparison between two subjects like mathematics as well as science, now here we have to draw another graph to represent the science marks. So that is unshaded rectangle, or here also we can take another graph. So this unshaded rectangle represents science. Here unshaded represents science, and shaded graph represent, shaded rectangle represent mathematics. So here we can compare the two subjects marks in the three term examinations. Now here the width of each bar is same, and the gap between each two consecutive bars also the same, but here the length or height of the each bar depends on the particular marks in the different subjects. So actually the bar graph is used to show the comparison among the quantities. Now let us see what is a pie graph or what is a circle. So the pie graph or a circle graph is used to compare the parts of a whole. So a pie graph is used to compare the parts of a whole. Here a circle is taken and it will be divided into some sectors to show the parts of the whole circle. But whereas in the bar graph we will represent of each category in the form of a rectangle, but here we will represent each category in the form of a sector. So if you want to find the number of students who like mathematics or science or any other subject, for example, if 50% of the students like mathematics, so now this is a sector, means a semicircle, and if 25% of the students like science, so then this sector represents 25%, so the number of students who like the science subject. And if for example 15% students like social science and 10% students like, for example, English. So here the comparison of different subjects is shown in the form of sectors. So these sectors are the parts of a whole circle. So in the pie graph or circle graph, a circle is divided into different sectors to show the different categories of the given data. So here 50% like mathematics and 25% of the students like science and 15% like social studies and 10% like English. Let us see the next type of graphical representation, that is a histogram. So a histogram is a bar graph that shows the data in intervals. So histogram is also a bar graph, but it shows the data in intervals and it has adjacent bars over the intervals. Now let us see what is the difference between a bar graph and a histogram. So let us take an example to understand a histogram easily. So here in the table the weights of some persons are given. So the weights are from 40 to 50 and 50 to 60 and 60 to 70. So there are 20 persons whose weight is 40 to 50 kilograms and 30 persons whose weight 50 to 60 kilograms, and there are 10 persons whose weight is 60 to 70 kilograms. Now let us draw the histogram for the given data. So we will take two lines, one vertical and the horizontal. So on the horizontal line we take the intervals, means weights, in kilograms. So these weights are called here class intervals, or simply we can say classes. And on the vertical line we take number of persons. So on the vertical line we can take the number of persons here. And we will take the classes from 40 to 50. So here we will make all equal intervals on horizontal line. So from 40 we are taking, so 40 and here 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 and so on. On the vertical line also we will make the equal parts. and to show the number of persons on the vertical line, so we will take the multiples of 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So here we are not taking from 0 to 40 kilograms, so that is why this can be represented by zag line or broken line here. Means you are not showing the weights from 0 to 40. So we are directly taking from 40 to 50. So what is the number of persons whose weight 40 to 50 kilograms? So there are 20 persons. So up to 20 you have to draw the rectangle. Next, how many persons are there whose weight is 50 to 60 kilograms? So immediately from 50 to 60 there are 30 persons. %20 here and 30% here. Now immediately from 60 to 70, how many persons are there? There are 10 persons whose weight is 60 to 70 kilograms. So these are the different class intervals, 40 to 50 and 50 to 60, then 60 to 70. Now you might have observed that the difference between the bar graph and a histogram. So in the bar graph or histogram, in both the graphical representations, the width of each bar is same. Then what is the difference between these two? So in the bar graph, so there will be equal gap between any two consecutive rectangles. So there is equal gap. But whereas in the histogram, there is no gap between each two consecutive rectangles, because so there is no gap between any two consecutive class intervals. So in case of rectangles also there is no gap, because here all the class intervals are continuous. So 40 to 50 and immediately 50 to 60, then immediately from 60 to 70. So there is no gap between any two class intervals, any two consecutive class intervals. So in the rectangles also there is no gap. So this is the difference between a bar graph and a histogram. So in case of a bar graph, there is equal gap between any two consecutive rectangles, but there is no gap between any two consecutive rectangles in the histogram. Now let us see the next graphical representation, a line graph. A line graph displays the data that changes continuously over periods of time. Now let us understand this with an example. So that when Renu, means a student Renu, fell sick, her doctor recorded her body temperature in the form of a table, and he took the temperature and recorded for every 4 hours from 6 am to 6 pm. So at 6 am her body temperature was 37 degrees centigrade, and at 10 am 40 degrees centigrade, and at 2 pm 38 degrees centigrade, and at 6 pm 35 degrees centigrade. So for every 4 hours the temperature was recorded. Now let us draw the graph. So this is the time and temperature. So this graph is known as time temperature graph. Now we will take a horizontal line, which is also known as x-axis, and a vertical line, which is also known as y-axis. On the horizontal line we will take the time, and on the vertical line we will take the temperature in degrees. in degree centigrade. Now we will take the time on x-axis with equal intervals from 6 am to 6 pm. So here 6, then here we will take 8 am, 10 am, 12 am means 12 noon, and then 2 pm, then 4 pm, then 6 pm. On the vertical line means on the y-axis, we will take the temperature in degrees starting from 35, or we will take from 30, then 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, then 42. So on the y-axis we have taken the temperature in degrees centigrade. So the first one is 30 degrees centigrade, then 32 degrees centigrade, then 34 degrees centigrade up to 42 degrees centigrade. So here we are not taking from 0 to 6, so that is why we have to represent it by a jog line, and here also from 0 to 30 we are not showing, so here also a jog line. Then now we will plot the points representing the temperature at equal time intervals. So at 6 am her body temperature is 37 degrees centigrade. So at 6 am her body temperature is recorded as 37 degrees centigrade. So here, so this point represents her body temperature at 6 am. Means 37 degrees centigrade means between 36 and 38. So then at 10 am her body temperature is 40 degrees centigrade. So let us represent our body temperature at 10 am. So it is 40 degrees centigrade. So this is our body temperature at 10 am. The next, at 2 pm her body temperature was 38 degrees centigrade. At 2 pm 38 degrees centigrade. So this point represents that her body temperature at 2 pm was 38 degrees centigrade. Next, at 6 pm 35 degrees centigrade is the body temperature. So at 6 pm you will show it by 35. So between 34 and 36, so it is 35. Now if you join all these points, then we get the line graph. So in this case, this is also known as time temperature graph, because we are taking time on horizontal line and temperature on vertical line. And if you observe the pattern of the temperature, so from 6 am to 10 am it was increasing, then from 10 am to 6 pm it was decreasing. So from, see in the table also you can see that from 6 am to 10 pm the temperature was increasing from 37 to 40 degrees centigrade, and since then it was decreasing. So from 10 am to 6 pm it was decreasing, so 40 to 38, then 38 to 35. Now if you want to find the temperature at 8 am, actually it is not given in the table, it was not recorded. So if you want to find the temperature at 8 a.m. So then we can find the temperature at 8 a.m. from the graph. So if you draw a vertical line from 8 a.m. So definitely it is more than 37, because from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. the temperature was increasing. So at 8 a.m. also the temperature will be more than 37. So approximately it may be 38 or 39. So we can say that here the temperature at 8 a.m. is 38 degrees centigrade. So again at 10 a.m. the temperature was 40 degrees centigrade, and from 10 a.m. the temperature was decreasing. So this is the time temperature graph, means it is a line graph. So a line graph displays the data that changes continuously over periods of time. Here the data is changing continuously over periods of time. So when you take the time on horizontal line, so over the periods of this time, means from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. So the data is changing continuously over the periods of time. So far we have discussed regarding the bar graph, double bar graph, and pie chart, means pie graph, and histogram, then line graph. Now let us solve some problems. The question: the following graph shows the temperature of a patient in a hospital recorded every hour. So on the horizontal line the time is taken from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. On the vertical line, means on the y-axis, the temperature was taken in degrees centigrade. Now at 9 a.m. the patient's temperature was 35.5 degrees centigrade, and at 10 a.m. 36 degrees centigrade. So up to 3 p.m. the temperature was recorded. Now let us answer the following questions. So what was the patient's temperature at 1 p.m.? So at 1 p.m. we have to find the patient's temperature. So draw a vertical line from 1 p.m. It meets the line graph at 36.5 degrees centigrade. So the patient's temperature, and if you draw horizontal line from from the point where it meets the line graph, so it is 36.5 degrees centigrade. So the temperature at 1 p.m. was 36.5 degrees centigrade. Now the second question is, when was the patient's temperature 38.5 degrees centigrade? So the patient's temperature 38.5 degrees centigrade is given here. So from here if you draw the vertical line, so then it will meet the horizontal line at 12 noon. So the patient's temperature was 38.5 degrees centigrade at 12 noon. So we can write the answer as 12 noon. Now the next question, what was the temperature at 1:30 p.m.? So after 1 o'clock, means after 1 p.m. So between 1 and 2, if you observe the line graph from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., so there is no change in the patient's temperature, because from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. so it is constant, there is constant temperature. So at 1 p.m. 36.5 degrees centigrade, and even at 2 p.m. also 36.5 degrees centigrade. So this straight line, means horizontal line, represents that there is no change in the patient's temperature from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So we can understand that at 1:30 p.m. so between 1 and 2, so at 1:30 p.m. also the patient's temperature is same as 36.5 degrees centigrade. So that patient's temperature at 1:30 p.m. is 36.5 degrees centigrade. Now the next question, the patient's temperature was the same 2 times during the period given. What were these 2 times? So the patient's temperature was same 2 times. So at 1 p.m. and at 2 p.m. So at these 2 times the patient's temperature was the same. Now see the next question. During which periods did the patient's temperature showed an upward trend? Upward trend means the temperature increases. So from 9 am to 10 pm, 10 am, from 9 am to 10 am, the temperature increases, and again from 10 am to 11 am also the temperature increases. So, and since then the temperature was decreasing. So from 11 am to 12 noon, and again from 12 noon to 1 pm also the temperature decreases, and from 1 pm to 2 pm the temperature is same, and again from 2 pm to 3 pm the temperature increases. So there are 3 time intervals where the temperature increases. So from 9 am to 10 am, next 10 am to 11 am, the next case is 2 pm to 3 pm. Let us see the next question. The following graph shows the yearly sales figures for a manufacturing company. So on the horizontal line the different years are taken, and the vertical line sales in rupees crores. Now let us answer the questions. So what were the sales in 2002, 2003, 2005 and 2006? So in 2002, from the line graph you can say that, so the total sales was 4 crores. So in 2002, if you draw the vertical line from this point, and we can see that the total sales in 2002 was 4 crores. Rupees. Next 2003. So in 2003, from the graph, from the line graph, we can say that, so between 6 and 8, so that is 7. So there are 7 crores rupees sales in the 2003. Next, in the 2005. So in 2005, so this horizontal line meets the vertical line at 10. So we can say that 10 crores rupees in 2005. So 10 crores rupees of sale in 2005. Next in 2006. So in 2006, so 8 crores rupees. Next, compute the difference between the sales in 2002 and 2006. So in 2006, 8 crores rupees, and in 2002, 4 crores rupees. So 8 crores minus 4 crores equals to 4 crores. Now the next question, in which year was there the greatest difference between the sales as compared to its previous year? So when you compare 2002 to 2003, so the sales difference was here 4 crores in 2002 and 7 crores in 2003. So 4 here and 7. So then the difference is 7 minus 4 is 3 crores. But when you compare 2004 to 2005, so the sales in 2004 was 6 crores and sales in 2005 was 10 crores. So then 10 minus 6 is 4 crores. So the difference between these two years is 3 crores, and the difference between these two years 2004 and 2005 is 4 crores. So this was the more difference when compared to this difference. So in 2005, in the year 2005, so there was the greatest difference between the sales as compared to the previous year. So we can write the answer 2005. So in this year 2005, there was the greatest difference between the sales when compared to the previous year. Let us see the next question. Can there be a time temperature as follows? Justify your answer. So in the first graph, time is taken on the horizontal axis and the temperature is taken on the vertical axis. So when you draw the graph of time and temperature, so in the first graph, as we take the different intervals of time, the temperature increases. So this is possible for the time temperature graph. So whereas you take the time temperature graph in another case, so in the second case, the temperature decreases when you take the different time intervals. So when you take the different time intervals, so the temperature is decreasing. So this is also possible for the graph of a time temperature. And the second also possible. And if you take the third case, here there are no time intervals are there, but the temperature is not taken in the different time intervals. So suddenly the temperature increases without taking any time intervals. So this is not possible for the graph of time and temperature. Now in the fourth case, in the different time intervals, the temperature remains constant. So it is the horizontal line which is parallel to the x-axis. So this is also possible. Except in the third case, in all the three graphs, so these graphs represent the time temperature graph. Now let us discuss linear graphs. Now before going to linear graphs, let us revise once again the line graph. So what is a line graph? So if you take any graph in a plane, a line graph consists of bits of line segments A, B, C, D. So here A, B, B, C, C, D. So these are the bits of the line segments. So a line graph consists of the bits of the line segments. So sometimes the graph may be a whole line segment which is unbroken. Now this is also a line graph, but which is a whole unbroken from A to B. Now this is also a line segment, but which is a whole unbroken line. So this type of graph is called a linear graph. Now this is a linear graph and this is a line graph. Now let us write the definition of a linear graph. So a line graph which is a whole unbroken line segment is called a linear graph. So linear graph is also a line graph which is a whole and unbroken line segment is called a linear graph. So to draw the linear graph, we need to locate some points in a plane. Now let us learn how to locate the given points in a plane. Now let us discuss how to locate a point in a plane, means location of a point. Now, a teacher puts a dot on the blackboard and she asks the student to describe the position of the dot. So, consider this ABCD is a blackboard. Now, the teacher puts the dot somewhere in the blackboard. So, this point is P. Now, she has to describe the position of the points. Now, one student said that the dot is in the upper half of the blackboard. So, the first response from the student is the location of the means the position of the point is in the upper half of the blackboard. The second student said that the position of the point is near the left edge of the blackboard. So, according to the second student, near the left edge of the board. Then the third student also said that the point is in the left upper corner of the board. So, left and upper corner means the point is close to the left upper corner of the board. So, the different students give the different responses to describe the location of the point. Now, let us see which of these statements give the exact location of the point. We cannot say no, because so one student is responding in one way, so but we cannot describe the exact location of the point. Then immediately the other student, John, suggested that he measured the distance of the point from the left edge of the board. So, when he measured, so it was 10 centimeters. So, then he said that the point is 10 centimeter away from the left edge. So, the point P is 10 centimeters from the left edge. Of the board. But if you consider the points which are away 10 centimeters from the left edge, but we can locate so many points. Here P, then P1, here P2, here P3, here P4. So these all points are 10 centimeters away from the left edge of the board. So we can conclude that even the statement of the John also does not give the exact location of the point. So then immediately the other student, Rekha, modified John's statement in a different way. Now she measured the distance of the point from the left edge as well as from the bottom edge. So she measured the distance of the point from the left edge as well as from the bottom edge. Now she gave the statement that the point P is 10 centimeters from the left edge and 40 centimeters from the bottom edge. Now this statement gives the exact location of the point P. Now according to the Rekha statement, now this statement describes the exact location of the point P in the given plane ABCD. Now according to the location of a point, we can locate a point P by taking the distance from the left edge and the distance from the bottom edge. So here the distance from the left edge is 10 centimeters, so 10 comma, and the distance from the bottom edge is 40 centimeters, so it is 40. Now the location of the point P is 10 comma 40. Now the teacher explained that, so we can locate a point in the plane by taking the distance of the point from the left edge, means from the vertical line, and by taking the distance from the bottom edge from the horizontal line. Now if you take the point 10 comma 40 and other point 40 comma 10, are these 2 points same? So we can say that these 2 points are not same, so they are different points, because here 10 represents the distance of the point away from the left edge, but whereas you take 40 here, the first value 40, so the distance of this point, which is 40 centimeters away from the left edge, and we can say that here 40 in the first point, the second number 40 means the distance of this point from the bottom edge, so this is 40 centimeters away from the bottom edge, but whereas the second point, it is only 10 centimeters away from the bottom edge. So we can conclude that the 2 points 10 comma 40 and 40 comma 10 both are different, so these are not equal. Then what is the origin of the location of a point, means locating a point? The 17th century mathematician René Descartes Now what is the origin of the location of a point? Now a 17th century mathematician René Descartes now he noticed the movement of an insect near the corner of a ceiling. Then he began to think of the determining the position of a point in a plane. So he observed the movement of an insect in the corner of a ceiling. Then he began to think of the determining the position of the given point in a plane. Then his system of fixing, means his system of locating a point with the help of two measurements like vertical and horizontal. So his system of fixing a point with the help of two measurements like vertical and horizontal is named as the Cartesian system in his honor. Now let us discuss what are the coordinates of a point. Now if you take any graph sheet, means a square grid paper, so on this graph sheet is also called as coordinate plane or Cartesian plane. So in this Cartesian plane, the horizontal line is called horizontal axis or x-axis. Or it is also known as x-axis. And the vertical line is called vertical axis or y-axis. Or it is also known as y-axis. Now the two axes, the horizontal and the vertical axis, both intersect at a point. So this point is known as origin, denoted by O. So origin is the point of intersection of both horizontal axis and vertical axis. Now if you want to locate a point on this coordinate plane, for example 3, 4, then how to locate the point 3, 4 in the Cartesian plane? Now you take here the first number 3 is called the first element or first coordinate, or it is also known as x coordinate. And the second number 4 is called second element or second coordinate, are also known as y coordinate. the y coordinate equals to 4. Now first you consider the x coordinate 3. Now you consider a point which is 3 centimeters or 3 units away from the left edge. So you can take 1, 2, 3. So this line represents 3 centimeters away from the left edge, means from y axis. Now consider the y coordinate 4. It represents that 4 centimeters away from the bottom axis, means from the horizontal axis. So if you take 4 centimeters, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one. Now this is the exact location of the point 3, 4. So which is 3 centimeters away from the vertical line and 4 centimeters away from the horizontal line. So this is the point 3, 4. Here the first coordinate, means the x coordinate 3, tells us that how many units we have to move to the right from y axis. And the second coordinate y tells us that how many units we have to move up from the x axis. So we have to move 3 centimeters from the y axis, and we have to move up 4 centimeters or 4 units from the x axis. Now if you want to locate the point 4, 3, here the coordinates are 4 and 3. Here the x coordinate is 4 and the y coordinate is 3. Then how to locate this point in the Cartesian plane? So we have to move 4 centimeters from the left, means from the left vertical line, we have to move 4 centimeters to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this line, we have to consider this line. Then similarly, simultaneously, we have to move 3 centimeters from the bottom. So here 1, 2, 3. So this point is 4, 3, means which is 4 centimeters from the vertical axis and 3 centimeters from the horizontal axis. So these 2 points 3, 4 and 4, 3 both are different. So if you observe, the first coordinates are 3 and 4 in the 2 points, and the second coordinates are 4 and 3. Now it is difficult for us to count and move to the right or up. So let us give the numbers on both the axes. Here for each 1 unit you will give the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and so on. And even on the y axis, means on the vertical axis, we give the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now let us determine the location of some other points like 5, 7 and 3, 5, then 6, 2. Now first you consider the point 5, 7. So what are the coordinates of this point 5, 7? X coordinate is 5 and y coordinate is 7. So here 5 is the x coordinate and 7 is the y coordinate. So first you consider the x axis, means the horizontal axis. So 5 is there. So this represents 5. Then on the y axis it is 7. So y coordinate is 7. So here 7 is there, and this 5 and this 7, these two lines will intersect here. So this point is the 5, 7. So where x coordinate is 5 and the y coordinate is 7. Now if you want to locate the point 3, 5 on the coordinate plane. So 3, 5 means on the x axis you take 3, on the y axis you take 5. So these two lines will intersect in this point. So this is the point 3, 5. Now if you want to locate the point 6, 2 in the coordinate plane. So on the x axis you take 6. So this line, and on the y axis you take 2. So these two lines 6 and 2. So these two lines will intersect in this point. So this is the point 6, 2, whose first coordinate is, means x coordinate is 6 and the y coordinate is 2. So far we have discussed the linear graphs, location of a point and the coordinates of a point. Now let us solve some problems. Now the question is, plot the following points on a graph sheet, verify if they lie on a line. So as you know that the horizontal line in the graph sheet is called x-axis and the vertical line is called y-axis, and the point of intersection of these two x-axis and y-axis is called origin, denoted by O. Now if you locate the points on the graph sheet, the first point is 4, 0. So on the x-axis 4 and y-axis 0 means it is lie on the x-axis. So the point lies on the x-axis. So that point is 4, 0. Then the second point 4, 2. So if you take 4, 2 on x-axis 4 and on the y-axis 2. So these two lines will intersect here. So this is the point B, which is 4, 2, and the next point 4, 6. C point is 4, 6. So on the x-axis 4, on the y-axis 6. So this is the point C, 4, 6, and the next point D, 4, 2.5. So on the x-axis 4 and on the y-axis 2.5. So 2.5 means between 2 and 3, the midpoint of 2 and 3. So this is the point D, which is 4, 2.5. Now if you consider all these points A, B, C, D, now do they lie on the same line or not? Yes, obviously we can say that all these 4 points lie on a line. So we can write here A, B, C and D lie on a line. Next question, we have to locate the points P 1, 1, Q 2, 2, R 3, 3 and S 4, 4. So let us locate the point P 1, 1 first. So on x-axis 1, on y-axis 1. So these 2 points will intersect here. So this is the point P 1, 1. Now the second point is Q 2, 2. So this point is on x-axis we can take 2 and also on the y-axis 2. So this is the point Q 2, 2. Then the next point R 3, 3. So 3, 3 means on the x-axis 3 and also on the y-axis 3. So on x-axis 3 and on the y-axis 3. So these two lines will intersect here. So this point is R 3, 3. And the next point S 4, 4. On x-axis 4 and y-axis 4. So these two lines will intersect here. So this point is S 4, 4. Now observe all these points P, Q, R and S. So do they lie on a line or not? Yes, obviously they lie. So but actually there is no line passing through all these points. So if you draw a line passing through all these points, so these 4 points lie on a line. So we can write that points P, Q, R and S lie on a line. Next, in third problem, the point K 2, 3, L 5, 3, M 5, 5 and N 2, 5. So let us take the first point K 2, 3. So the point 2, 3 means on x-axis 2 and on the y-axis 3. So this is the point K 2, 3. Next, L 5, 3 on x-axis 5 and y-axis 3. So this is the point L 5, 3. So this is the point K and this is the point L. The next M is 5, 5. Here M point is phi, on x-axis phi, and on y-axis also phi. So this is a point M. And next, n 2 comma phi, on x-axis 2, on y-axis phi. So this is a point n 2 comma phi. Now observe the 4 points K, L, M, N. So these 4 points do not lie on a line. So this point K, L, M, N. So these 4 points do not lie on a line. So we can write that K, L, M and N do not lie on a line. Let us solve the next question. Write the coordinates of the vertices of each of these adjoining figures. So in the adjoining coordinate plane, there is a square and there is a parallelogram and there is a triangle. So we have to write the vertices of each point of the square, parallelogram and as well as triangle. Now first we will consider square. Coordinates of the vertices of square OABC. Now the first point, the first vertex O coordinates are, it is origin, so its coordinates are 0, 0. Then the second vertex A, its coordinates are 2 and it is lying on the x-axis, so its y coordinate is 0. So then we can say that its coordinates are 2, 0. Then the third vertex is B, its coordinates are, so it is on the vertical line 2 and the horizontal line also 2. So its coordinates are 2, 2. And the coordinates of A are 2, 0 and coordinates of B are 2, 2. Next, coordinates of C. So as the point C lies on y-axis, its x coordinate is 0. So then C coordinates are 0, 2. So these are the 4 vertices whose coordinates are given of a square. Now let us take the second figure, that is a parallelogram PQRS. Now coordinates of the vertices of parallelogram PQRS are, so the first point P, then what are the coordinates of P? So P coordinates are 2, 4. So it is lying on the line 2, vertical line 2 and the horizontal line 4. So its coordinates are 2, 4. Next point Q. So the next vertex is Q, its coordinates are 4 and 2. So 4, 2. And the next vertex is R and its coordinates are, so first you have to take x coordinate. So x coordinate is 4 and then y coordinate, that is 6. So its coordinates are 4, 6. And the last point is S. So S coordinates are, first x coordinate is 2 and y coordinate is 8. So 2, 8. Next figure. Now it is a triangle KLM. Now we have to find the vertices of the triangle KLM, means we have to find the coordinates of each vertex of the triangle KLM. Coordinates of the vertices of triangle KLM are, so the first vertex K and its coordinates are, x coordinate is 7 and y coordinate is 3. So its coordinates are 7, 3. And the next vertex is L and its coordinates, x coordinate is 5 and y coordinate is also 5. So its coordinates are 5, 5. And the next vertex is M and its coordinates are, first coordinate is 7 and the second coordinate also 7. So 7, 7 are the coordinates of the third vertex M. So the coordinates of the vertices of triangle KLM are K 7, 3 and L 5, 5 and M 7, 7. So these are the coordinates of the vertices of a square and a parallelogram and a triangle KLM. Let us solve the next question. Draw the line passing through the points 2, 3 and 3, 2 and find the coordinates of the points at which this line meets the x-axis and y-axis. So first we will draw the line passing through the 2 points, given points 2, 3 and 3, 2. So first we will locate the 2 points, so which are 2, 3 and 3, 2. So the first point is 2, 3. So on x-axis we can take 2 and on the y-axis 3. So this is the point 2, 3. And the second point is 3, 2. So on x-axis we can take 3 and on the y-axis 2. So this is the point 3, 2. Now we should draw a line passing through the two given points 2, 3 and 3, 2. Now let us join these 2 points and reduce the line. So this line is intersecting x-axis at 5, 0 and y-axis at 0, 5. So the line joining the two given points 2, 3 and 3, 2 meets the x-axis at 5, 0 and y-axis at 0, 5. So when it meets x-axis, then the y coordinate will be 0. So when the line meets y-axis, then x coordinate will be 0. So we can write that the line joining 2, 3 and 3, 2 meets the x-axis at 5, 0 and the y-axis at 0, 5. Now let us see some applications of graphs. So in our day-to-day life we might have observed that, so if you use the more facility, then you have to pay more bill for it. For example, if you take the quantity of electricity and the amount of the electric bill. So let us take an instance, quantity of electricity and the amount of electric bill. So if you take these two, so if you consume the more electricity, then your bill also will be more, means your electricity bill also will be more. Or if you if you consume the less electricity, then our electric bill also will be very less, so that we can easily manage it. So here the one quantity affects the other quantity, means this is an instance, so where one quantity affects the other quantity. So here the amount of electric bill depends on the quantity of electricity we consumed. So here these both are dependable on each other. So here the quantity of electricity is called independent variable. So this is or sometimes it is also called control variable. And the amount of electric bill, so this is called dependent variable. Means the amount of electric bill actually depends on the quantity of electricity we consumed. So here the quantity of electricity is independent variable, so whereas the amount of electric bill is the dependent variable. So here the relation between the dependent variable and the independent variable can be shown through a graph. Then let us see how the relation between the two quantities can be shown through a graph with an example. Now let us see the first question. To show the relation between the dependent variable and independent variable, to show the graph. Now draw the graph for the following table of values with the suitable scales on the axis. Now here the cost of apples given in a table. So in the first row of the table, number of apples taken, and in the second row, cost in rupees. So here if the number of apples is 1, then the cost is 5 rupees. So if the number of apples is 2, then the cost of the apples is 10 rupees. So here for different number of apples, the different costs are given. So here the number of apples is an independent variable and the cost in rupees, so this cost of the apples is a dependent variable. Now let us show the relation between these two dependent and independent variable as the graph. So on the horizontal line we will take the apples or number of apples, and on the vertical line we will take the cost in rupees. Now, so on the horizontal line we can take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. So 1 unit equals to 1 apple on the horizontal line. Now scale on x-axis, 1 unit equals to 1 apple. Then on the y-axis we will take the multiples of 5. So because 5, 10, 15 up to 25, so the larger number is 25. So if you take 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 25 we need to take. So the graph sheet is not sufficient for us, so we will take the multiples of 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Now on y-axis scale, on y-axis we can take 1 unit equals to 5 rupees. So this is the scale on y-axis. Now locate the points. So first point is 1, 5. So on x-axis 1, on y-axis 5. So this is the point 1, 5. And the second point is 2, 10. So on x-axis 2, on y-axis 10. So this is the point 2, 10. And on next point is 3, 15. So on x-axis 3, on y-axis 15. Next point is 4, 20. On x-axis 4, on y-axis 20. Next point is 5, 25. 5, 25. On x-axis 5, on y-axis 25. Now if you join all these points, then we get a straight line. So this is the graph of the two variables, means one dependent variable and the other independent variable. So the relation between these two variables can be shown as the graph. From this graph we can find the cost of any number of apples. For example, if you want to find the cost of 7 apples, then we have to draw a vertical line from 7 on x-axis. So this vertical line meets the line at the point 7, 35. So from this point draw horizontal line till it intersects the y-axis. So this is 35. So the cost of 7 apples is 35. Of course it is not given in the table. So but from the graph we can find the cost of any number of apples. Let us see the next question. Time in hours and distances in kilometers. So here 6 am to 7 am and 7 am to 8 am, then 8 am to 9 am. So the distance covered by a car is given, the distance travelled by a car. So at 6 am it is covered the distance of 40 kilometers, and at 7 am it has covered the distance of 80 kilometers, and at 8 am it covered the distance of 120 kilometers, and at 9 am it covered 160 kilometers. Now let us show the relation between these two quantities as a graph. Now on x-axis, means on the horizontal line, we take the time in hours, and on the y-axis we take the distance in kilometers. Now we will choose a scale on both the horizontal axis and on the vertical axis. So here 6 am, 7 am, 8 am and 9 am is there. So we will take 2 units represent 1 hour. So here we take from 0 to these 2 units, this is 6 am. Then again after 2 units it is 7 am. So after 2 units it is 8 am. Then after 2 units again it is 9 am. So on the vertical axis, means on the y-axis, we will take the multiples of 20, because the larger value is 160 in the table. So the maximum distance covered by the car is 160. So if you take the multiples of 10, so we have to take 16 units, but there are no 16 units. So we will take the multiples of 20. So here 1 unit represents 20 kilometers. 20, then 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, then 180. Now we will plot the points. So at 6 am the distance covered is 40 kilometers. So 6, 40. We will locate the point 6, 40. So 6 and this 40. So this is the point 6, 40. Next point is 7, 80. 7 and 80. So these two lines will intersect in this point. So this is the point 7, 80. So this is 6, 40, and this is the point 7, 80. The next point is 8, 120. So 8 and 120. And the next point is 9, 160. So at 9 am the distance travelled by the car is 160 kilometers. So this is the point. Nine, 160. Now if we join all these points, then we get a straight line. So this is the linear graph. Now there are two questions from this graph. Now how much distance did the car cover during the period 7:30 am to 8 am? So during the period 7:30 am, so here the line between 7 and 8, so the midpoint between 7 and 8, this is 7:30 am. So between 7:30 am and 8 am, then what is the distance covered by the car? Now draw two vertical lines from 7:30 and 8 till it intersect the given graph. So here the distance covered is 100 kilometers, and here at 8 am the distance covered is 120, and the difference between these two distances is 20 kilometers. So the car traveled 20 kilometers between these two given time 7:30 am to 8 am. So the distance covered by the car is 20 kilometers. So as it is the difference between 120 and 100. So the distance covered by the car at 8 am is 120 kilometers and at 7:30 am is 100 kilometers. So the difference between these two distances is 20 kilometers. So from 7:30 am to 8 am, the car has covered 20 kilometers. Now what was the time when the car had covered a distance of 100 kilometers since its start? So since its start, so where did it cover 100 kilometers of the distance? So from 100 kilometers on the vertical line, draw a horizontal line. So it intersects the given graph at this point. So from this point, draw the vertical line. So it represents 7:30 am. So at 7:30 am, the total distance covered by the car is 100 kilometers. So you can find the distance covered by the car at any two time periods. If you want to find the distance covered by the car at 8:30 am, so this is 8 am, so this will be 8:30 am. Then what is the distance covered by the car? Now the distance covered by the car is 140 kilometers. So as you extend the graph infinitely, then you will get the distances covered by the car after 1 hour or after 1.5 hours, after 2 hours. Let us solve the next question. Draw the graph for the following: side of a square in centimeters and perimeter of the square also in centimeters. Now the sides are given as 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 3.5, 5 and 6 centimeters, and the perimeter of the square in each case are given that 8 centimeters, 12 centimeters, 14 centimeters, 20 centimeters and 24 centimeters. Now we have to find that is it a linear graph. So first let us draw the graph of the given table. So first we will locate the points. So for that, if you take the values in the first row 2, 3, 3.5, 5 and 6. So we can take the scale on x-axis as 1 unit equals to 1 centimeter. So we can take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you take the second row of the table, so these values are 8, 12, 14, 20 and 24. So the maximum value is 24. So if you take here 1, 2, 3 and so on, so then the graph sheet will not be sufficient for us. So we will choose the scale on y-axis as 1 unit equals to 2 centimeters. So if you take the values on y-axis, you can take the multiples of 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 and 24. Now let us locate the points. So the first point is 2 comma 8. So on x-axis 2 and on y-axis is 8. So this is the point 2 comma 8. And the second point is 3 comma 12. So on x-axis 3, on y-axis 12. So this is the point 3 comma 12. Next point is 3.5 comma 14. So 3.5 means, so between 3 and 4, so this is 3.5. So 3.5 and 14. So this is the point 3.5 comma 14. And the next point is 5 comma 20. So on x-axis 5, on y-axis 20. So this is the point 5 comma 20. And the next point is 6 comma 24. On x-axis 6, on y-axis 24. Now let us join all the points. If you join all these points, then we are getting a straight line, so which represents a linear graph. Now the graph is linear. So when you draw the graph of side of a square and perimeter of the square, so then we are getting a linear graph. Now is it a linear graph? Yes, it is a linear graph.